Hello, everyone. How are you? We are back for Just Like You, Everyday People, Amazing Stories. I believe this is episode number 22. 22. So thank you so much for joining me. I believe this is episode number 22. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. Again, this is Just Like You, Everyday People, Amazing Stories. We are here 7:30 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time every Tuesday sharing people, their stories, and I am so glad you've joined us. If you have a story, and we know you do, please make sure you get in contact with me. I would love to have you be a guest on the show. We are booking guests into February of 2021. No story is too big. No story is too small. I'd love to have you on the show. It's about, hi, Melinda. Hi, sweetheart. It's about sharing positivity. It's about sharing stories. It's about uplifting others. The world needs to hear your story. A lot going on right now, and the world needs to hear from you. So we are here. If for whatever reason today the internet does something crazy and doesn't let us be great, we will be back. So we are here 7:30 to 8 p.m. every Tuesday. Just like you, everyday people, amazing stories. I'm waiting on my guest here, and here she is. Let's get her in. I love you too. Beautiful. Let's get Miss April in here. See. So yes, if you have a story, I would love to have you on the show. I would love to have you. Make sure you get a hold of me. And if you know someone who has a story, make sure to tag them and put them in contact with me as well. So I think April is connecting here for this episode of Just Like You, Everyday People, Amazing Stories. Hello, Amy. I see you as well. April, you should be coming on here any second, and we will get started. Hi, Taryn. How are you? We're double trouble. We are double trouble. Let's see. It says connecting. So hopefully you'll be on here in a second. But again, I'm just so thankful for all the positivity and all the overwhelming positivity. Let me see here. It says, let me try it again. Add. Let's see. All the overwhelming positivity. I'm just so happy. I know, girl, we got to go back out. We went to Maria's the other day. Kenny and I did. So, hey, April, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
How are you?
How are you?
Good. Thank you for
Hello.
joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Your makeup is popping.
Oh, well, thank you.
I love
I
that.
figured I'd put on just a little lipstick.
I
Thank
know,
you.
but you have eyes on and you have your lipstick. Go ahead,
Eyes
girl.
on.
Go ahead.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
You look great. Oh, and you have some earrings. I need to get my life in order to be able to have this talk. I need to start all over.
Yeah. But look, I had to be on camera all day today, so I had to have a little bit. But
Like,
plus, I wanted to make sure it was beautiful for you and your audience.
You are beautiful. We have a couple people on already that are ready. So we have another girl that's on. Her name is actually Taryn too. So we always yeah. So I will go ahead and get started. I was telling everyone that we're here. This is episode, I believe it's number 22, believe it or not. So it's just about positivity. Yes, Taryn said perfect fall lip color, April.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So we will go ahead and get started. We're on 7:30 to 8 p.m. every Tuesday Central Standard Time for Just Like You, Everyday People, Amazing Stories. If something happens in this half an hour, April, and the internet doesn't allow us to be great, we'll come right back because we're here until 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So we will, we're here every Tuesday, just sharing positivity, sharing stories. So I want to thank you for coming on and being a guest on the show. I truly appreciate it. I want to thank you just for, allowing the world to hear your story. So we.
Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous.
No. You just like talking to me, girl. You talk to me every day. So
that's right.
Just like talking to me. But we will go ahead here and get started. Just give us kind of your journey, what you want us to know. Give us your journey.
You know what? First, let me say this. I love you, Taryn.
Thank you.
And we have, let me start off. I was really thinking about this, and my son was in the other room. He said, Mom, gosh, what are you going to say, Mom? I mean, really? So I was really thinking about it, and I said, you know what? I think what I would like to convey is simply this. I came into the world early. I started early. My mom said I couldn't wait to get here. I was a preemie baby. So I came into the world at barely 7 months. I mean, barely. I was 3 pounds, 11 ounces.
Oh, wow.
And yep, the youngest of three, and have been pressing forward ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of striving against the odds, if you will, which so many of us do.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised by a devout Christian mom, and my mom was the sweetest. If you talk to any of my friends, they will tell you she was just, a praying woman. I
Mm-hmm.
always say she took a lot of things with her when she left here because
Mm-hmm.
she didn't judge. But one
Mm-hmm.
thing, that has shaped my life is my mom, of course, and I'm sure for
Okay.
many of you. But when I think about my story, I can't think about it without thinking about her.
Mm-hmm.
And so my
Mm-hmm.
mother was always the one to tell me that there is power in your words. And she would say, what you thinketh, you are,
Mm-hmm.
and what you sayeth, you become. And so
Okay.
she would tell me all the time, just watch what you say out your mouth because it will define you and can certainly shape life if you're not careful. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's kind of been the story of my life. I tell everyone all the time, kind of positive self-talk.
Yes.
And positive doesn't always mean positive in terms of telling yourself all of your greatness. I mean, sometimes you have to counter the negative as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, Taryn, you know this, we work in corporate America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people all the time, if you're in sales, you better get thick skin
Right.
because we hear no a lot and we get a lot of feedback. And it's not always positive feedback. And I remember earlier on in my career, and even sometimes now, you receive that feedback, that energy that really makes you stop, and it really can make you question who you
Mm-hmm.
are. That buzzword in corporate America is authentic. And so many days I said, what does that mean? What
Mm-hmm.
I am authentically who I am, and
Mm-hmm.
authenticity is who you are all the time. However, what you portray and what other people think they see, they may not think that it's authentic. I don't know.
Ah, okay.
So I
That's
think
a
when I
great
start
point.
thinking, yeah,
That's a great
well,
point.
and I say that because if you work in corporate America, you know this. Everybody says be authentic and do all of these, and be this and be that. But at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, I am who I am, right? And so you sometimes those thoughts that others can plant in our head, and sometimes even our own thoughts can have such a negative or
Mm-hmm.
positive impact on who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of when I think about my story, I think about my mom and that really being foundational to my life. And so as
Okay.
I navigate my life and sharing with others, I have a passion for training and helping
Mm-hmm.
people be purposeful in their careers and just in
Mm-hmm.
life in general, which is kind of how we met. We started
Right.
really talking about those things. So as I continue to strive, and I tell my kids all the time, don't think mom got to be this age without going through something.
Mm.
And we all have our something. And I think about my mom, and she said, well, you have two choices. You can push or you can fail. So my mantra has always been push forward. And
Okay.
you don't do that by yourself. You
Right.
got to be prayerful and you need lifelines, your family, your friends,
Yes.
and sometimes even your naysayers can help
Mm-hmm.
you push forward because I have found oftentimes with negative energy or negative conversations or just not so positive, it forces me to push even harder
Right.
because I have to prove to myself that I can. So that's kind of my story. That's what's really shaped my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I try to share some of that with other people when I meet them because
Right.
sometimes what people see of us, it doesn't give them any indication where we've been and where we've come from
Yes.
and the obstacles or lack thereof that we've had. And so when we start judging and making perceptions about what we think people have been through, we could totally be missing the mark.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you said one thing, and maybe expand on it just a little bit, is you said something about what you think you're being authentic. People
Mm-hmm.
may not think necessarily that you're being authentic, or it may not land on them. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what you were saying too,
Yeah.
that same way. I think that's an interesting concept of what you think, you're letting out
Mm-hmm.
there and what actually people see. I talk about this. I've done that workshop that they work on with the
Mm-hmm.
story workshop,
Right. Right.
which I absolutely love. And one of the things I talk about in that, so Melinda says, amen, you're speaking the truth. So um, one of the things I talk about in there is this picture that my husband and I we put on Facebook, and
Mm-hmm.
in the picture I'm like this, like
Mm-hmm.
like my Victoria Beckham, Kim Kardashian, not
Right.
smiling because I think I'm whatever, super sexy, and
That's
my
your
husband
sense.
is not
Yeah.
smiling because
Uh-huh.
he thinks he's super cool, and so we're both like,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom comments, "You guys don't look happy." And so what we were putting out there was, crazy, sexy, cool. And what my
Right.
mom saw was, you guys both look mean, you know?
Exactly.
And so it hit her in a different way than we wanted, than we were thinking, right? What
Mm-hmm.
we were putting out there was something totally different than what she saw. And that,
Mm-hmm.
that's just a simple example, but I'm sure, that happens more often than we know.
It
Um,
does.
so maybe, is there anything you can expand on that a little bit, or is that
Sure.
you were going?
Absolutely. And I'll expand on it from, more than one front. So first,
Mm-hmm.
let me expand on it as just being a female and an
Mm-hmm.
African American female at that,
Mm-hmm.
or just in fact, just being a woman in general. Oftentimes, and I can really say this, and I probably shouldn't say it to the world, but I'm going to say it. So here we are in corporate America. We work for a very prestigious company, and so you go through these programs or you get accepted into these programs. And I recall getting feedback one day, and someone said to me in a feedback session,
Mm-hmm.
leadership, that I was going to have to temper the way in which I entered the room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I thought, well, what does that mean? Well, because you have a presence that might be a little intimidating to some people. And so when you cross over
Mm-hmm.
into leadership, you might want to temper that a little bit. And I thought, well, I don't know how to do that because I am who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if someone has a problem with you or with me, is that my fault necessarily? Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, you start to think about, okay, well, that's feedback you receive. So you want to find a way to embrace or dispel or whatever it is. So that's one example. The other example is, I'm a mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a mama bear. Okay. And so when I have to deal with things with my children, or when I go to the school to have those conversations or whatever it is, mama bear comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So the joke with my kids is, uh-oh, mama bear is on campus.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids tell me sometimes, Mom, my friends are so afraid of you. And I'm like, why? Because you have such a commanding presence, Mom.
Yeah.
And so I have to be intentional about cutting up sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
relaxing, having fun, dancing with my kids. Because, I really am fun. But to them, what they see sometimes in their friends is that I'm, mama bear. And then it's the same thing sometimes with friends, And I think ultimately when people say authentic, authentic is a word that gets misconstrued,
Mm-hmm.
because authentic to me means authentic in whatever it is you're approaching at the time. I
Oh.
don't think people change. People are who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Life happens, circumstances change. And so you're adjusting as you go through life. But I think ultimately we're all true to self. Because I really don't think we can necessarily change who we are. I just think that we can evolve. And
Oh, okay.
so in different circumstances, we evolve. But I'm still always going to be April. And so think about your friends, people who've always known you.
Mm-hmm.
To them, you never really change.
Oh, yeah. And they know you sometimes
They
better than
know you.
yourself.
Exactly. And
Sometimes.
they'll call you out when you're not truly being authentically yourself. They will tell you, okay, what is that about? I'm sorry, I don't know that person.
Right. And I think it's kind of, I guess, I think about it in just how we live, and it can be an art, right? It can be an
Mm-hmm.
art of being, I mean, like you said, you can't really change yourself. I have this thing too that says there are two types of people in the world: people who say things. It says presence is powerful, great
Mm-hmm.
attribute. We got that comment. So
Oh, thank you, Taryn.
it's that
Mm-hmm.
I say there are two types of people in the world: people who say things and wish they wouldn't have, and people who which don't say anything and wish they would have, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think I consider myself that person who maybe says something and wish I wouldn't have, because I'm very vocal, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes need to work on. It's not like the what I say; it might be the work on how I'm saying it. And
Mhm.
so to your point of just kind of reading that,
Mhm.
reading yourself, not necessarily straying from self, but
Mhm.
understanding what I'm
Mhm.
putting out there, to the world.
Mhm.
And I've kind of diagnosed myself with why that is.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother
Yeah.
episode. But I know kind of why that is. But to your point of, presence being powerful and, saying things
Mhm.
to yourself and making sure you're true to yourself, yet you're at the same time, knowing how different things are going to land, with different
Right.
people. So I think all those are great points. So we're at 7:45, so 15 more minutes.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about, I guess you can combine these like
Yeah.
lessons you've learned and then
Mm.
lessons you would share with someone else. So a few that you've learned, and then a few that you would think our audience could benefit from.
Okay. So, I mean, I go back to lessons I've learned. Let me think about that. First of all, again, I think foundational lesson is simply just the power of thought,
Okay.
and what you internalize can become actualized. And
What you
whether it's
internalize
actualized,
become actualized.
yes,
I like that one.
you either embrace the power of that thought, whatever it is, and hopefully it's positive, but
Mm-hmm.
it can also be filled with fear. Um, and fear doesn't allow you to focus forward. And I'm a believer that you focus forward. Whatever has happened, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You hear people say the rearview mirror is small for a reason. That is true. You can't go back and change it.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you just keep moving forward. I have discovered over time, yes, I believe in planning. I believe in being strategic. What's your mission? All of the things that you learn over time. But at the end of the day, it's just your plan. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest lesson in my entire life. It's just my plan, because when God or whatever higher power others may believe in, I'm a God fearing, believing woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my plan. And when He wants to sit you down and make you quiet so that He can show you that you are not in control, He will do it.
Right.
And that's what happened to me. So life was going along and I thought everything was just wonderful. And I kept thinking, nothing can touch me now. I'm doing good, right? I've evolved. Well, all within, I call it the trifecta. I lost my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this one lesson I've learned. If you think of someone and you feel like you want to reach out and call them, call them.
Mm-hmm.
I told myself I really wanted to talk to my mom that night. I lived in another state and I didn't call her and I never spoke to her again. So that's one lesson I've learned. The other lesson is, in terms of that, life can change like that. I think we've all learned that with COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I lost my mom. My dog got killed.
Oh
Um,
no.
I got divorced all in a matter of just like that. Woo, life was good, and bam, the whole world
Mm-hmm.
fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
And just when I thought that I couldn't push forward anymore, um, you find or get strength that you don't know you had.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you feel like you've given up, because I really felt like, with mom not here anymore, there was really not a lot of purpose for me, because we were very close. And I thought about my mom, and I just thought about those words, and sometimes even in the midst of my grief I couldn't hear them. But that's when you think about, thank God somebody was praying for me, because Lord, somebody was praying. And I managed to get myself up, dust myself off, and it took a while, but here I am. If somebody had
Mm-hmm.
told me that I'd be here and I'd still be able to put one foot in front of the other and still smile and laugh and be happy, at that time I would have told you no. And when
Mm.
I say almost got killed, I mean I got killed. My car flipped over on Interstate 85 like 5 times, went down an embankment. I fractured my humerus, broke it in half. Um,
Oh no.
I had a bag phone. Remember bag phones? Okay, I'm telling my age now, but I had a bag phone. I had just gotten it, and someone
Mm-hmm.
climbed down that embankment and used my bag phone to call 911. My
Mm.
family saw me on the news, but they didn't know it was me because I had gotten a new car.
Mm.
So what I will tell you is,
Mm.
sometimes our plan is our plan. And I think that was God's way of saying to me, you are not in control, I am. And I'm going to show you
Mm-hmm.
who I am. And you either going to come out on the other side or you're going to cave in and you're going to give up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm here to say there are times when you just think you can't, but there is something inside of us that will push you forward and you can. And
Right.
so that's kind of one of the lessons I've learned. I mean, there've been often many times in life where you just feel like you just can't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other lesson is reach out. You know, you need a network. You need people who will tell you and pull you through when you can't do it for yourself.
Right.
You need people who will be
That's a good
honest with
one.
you. And so that's one of the lessons that I have really learned. I think the other
I
one is, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I really like the one to reach out,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that, well, I know for me, I'll just speak for myself. That's a hard one for some of us to do, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, you mentioned just being, you know, as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard thing for us to do. We try to keep it in control for everybody else, right? We try to uplift everybody else, but it's hard for us to learn. And I'm sure for men too, you know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure for men too, you know, it's hard for them to reach out as well. So I think that's a good one because, you know, we do need to have that strong support system.
We do.
And
We do. And I'll share something with you all. So I have this book. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Command Your Morning. All
yep,
right.
command your morning, command
And
your
it's
morning.
by Cindy Trim. And this sits on my desk. And I try to every day read something from it, even if it's just for a minute. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it certainly is not in place of my faith or reading the Bible or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an inspirational book. It's a small book. I've read it several times, but I have a couple of pages that are highlighted. So as you asked me the question, you know, lessons that I've learned, I'm going to read a couple of things from here because
Okay.
it captures what I really feel and think. So one thing, your environment will impact your attitude, focus, faith, and the intentionality of your thoughts. Okay. So think about your environment, your surrounding, and what it is that you're trying to encourage or discourage in your life. Because your environment can either potentiate that or it can help you be fruitful and evolve. I'm a
Okay.
firm believer of that. You have the power to create an inspirational environment around yourself. All of us do. And inspiration doesn't have to be big or small. It might be something small like this book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It might be, you know, a picture of someone you love. It could just be looking out the window. Maybe you put your desk in front of the window. My desk is in front of the window, by the way, because I like to look out. And one other thing in here, the biggest risk in life is not taking any risk at all. Prepare your mind to seek after and accept greater challenges. I believe that wholeheartedly,
Okay.
because sometimes if you don't extend yourself to grow, you get
Mm-hmm.
stagnant. And that doesn't mean it has to be something big. I just think that growth is power.
Growth is
And
power. I like
then
that one.
growth is power. When you stop growing, you're not enhancing your power.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the other thing, one of the first things that I like here too is your success and prosperity hinge on what lies within your mind. So those are some of the things that have shaped, you know, kind of who I am. Cindy Trim articulates it well, but I mean, I think if I had to put it in my words, it would simply say, your words can create power. They can make you powerful. Your words can create focus or fear. Your words can uplift. Your words can inspire you and propel you forward, or your words simply can keep you stagnant because you've gotten inside of your own head. And the world is already noisy enough without
Mm-hmm.
you putting that negative thought and internalizing it and causing you to remain stagnant. So that's probably what I would say.
I think that's so true. That's another good one. Like the world is always noisy enough. The world is
Mm-hmm.
already noisy enough, you know? And, you know, I have to, that's something that I have to take on too, because it is, the world is so noisy around you. And, you know,
Yep.
it just gets noisier and noisier and noisier by the day.
Yes, it
And
does.
I heard this saying the other day about, I don't know the exact words, but it was like protecting my time, you know?
Yes.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, my calendar looks like it's an explosion. And so I just need to work on, you know, protecting my time. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought about that when you said, you know, the world it's noisy and there's so
Mm-hmm.
many things that, you know, can overtake our thoughts. And sometimes a lot of that noise is negative noise even, you know, so
It is.
that even makes it double the whammy or triple the whammy. So I think that's
Yes.
a good one, you know, just realizing that there's so much noise around us and we need to do
Mm-hmm.
a job of protecting our thoughts because the
Yep.
world's already noisy enough. So let me see
I
what.
want to say, if I can, one more thing. This is
Yep.
something I tell my daughter. I have a daughter, so if any of you have daughters, children, but especially girls, daughters. My daughter is 17, so we're evolving. I can tell you all I'm not ready. I'm praying and I'm just not ready. But my daughter, if you have a daughter, and perhaps maybe you can relate to this, my daughter oftentimes, she's always going through, something. Girls can be wonderful.
Yeah, you're getting some loves on there, so there must be some moms saying,
yeah,
yeah, girl, we're with you.
yeah. And girls can be, as I tell her, some mean girls grow up to be mean women, so it doesn't always get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I tell my daughter all the time, I said, sometimes we're our own worst enemy because we think that we are someone else's important conversation. Sometimes we give ourselves too much credit to think what other people are saying or believing has specifically to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe what someone says doesn't have anything to do with you. Maybe it was what they were feeling at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other thing I caution people about too. I'm not at work or in private or what is about me. Okay, so don't internalize everything. It's not yours to internalize. Sometimes let the other person own it. Has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, give it
and
back
I tell
to
her
them.
that
Right?
all the time. Yep, doesn't have anything to do with you.
Give it back to them.
Let's give it back.
Yeah, that's a great one in life and relationships. Like
Mm-hmm.
just I think about that in relationships. Like, hey, okay,
Yep.
that's over there. Life, that's a good one. So we got about 5 more minutes left. So 4 more minutes left. So what does the future hold for April? Tell us what the future holds.
Ooh, lots of prayer.
Right.
Teenagers.
I know, right?
I'm not ready, so I'm praying. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What life holds for me really is, I'm trying to be intentional in how I approach life, but I do recognize that it's just a plan. But we have to have plans. So I have plans. I'm an entrepreneur, so I continue my entrepreneur endeavors. I am embarking on a new mission at work. I'm so excited about it. Where I get a chance to actually do some recruiting. I love training, so I get a chance now to recruit. So I'm excited about having the opportunity to maybe help bring other people into the fold of our wonderful organization. And you know what? I think really just continue to evolve in April, because I think that all of us, it's an evolution over time.
Yeah.
So I'm just continuing to evolve. I'm being intentional about health right now. I mean, always, but even more so now, because as we start to age, we notice things that change. We start to get reports that we're not happy about. So I'm just trying to be intentional in all things. And the other part of this, one of my girlfriends taught me this. She took a trip over to Ireland, and she was just saying how calm their life is there. And so she came back, she was on this board and she did this and she did that. And she said, you know what? It made me intentional, like you said, about my time. Schedule time in for yourself. I schedule time during the day on my work calendar to make sure I have, even if it's 30 minutes, it's mine. And it's okay to let something go. If you saw my house right about now, you would go, does April really live here? Because that's not really who she is. But you know what? I needed to be intentional with my time. My daughter needed me more. My son needed me more. And not only that, but being intentional requires preparation. And so if you're going to be good at what you do at work or at home or if you volunteer, if you're in an organization, preparation is key. So I have to spend some time preparing. So I'm preparing and being intentional with life, whatever it brings me.
I like that. Being intentional requires preparation.
Yep.
That's a good one too. That's a good one. And I do believe in that. I think I've been doing a similar thing. Somebody asked me, well, I don't know what they asked me to get involved in the other day. It was just something. I said, oh, Taryn, the other Taryn says, love this message about balance and tips in the tips. So
Yay.
Taryn is with us and she loves the message. As someone, I forgot what they asked me to be involved in, but anyway, I said, I'm kind of working on trying to like simplify my life, I love what I do for corporate America. I love my job and I love this show and I love the things I do.
Simplify.
That
sits on my desk.
Yeah. And so I just I want to be good at what I do and the special project that I took on, I love it. So I want to be good at the things I love to do and just declutter, with so many other, like you said, projects and this and that and things that, just kind of get
Mm-hmm.
thrown on my shoulders, like, you know, that I can, that I have the choice, right,
Mm-hmm.
to
You're
make
being
my life better,
intentional. You're being
being
intentional.
intentional and focus on the things I love to do, which is, I'm in a good space now because I do, you know, I love what I do. So that's, you know, been awesome. But I need one of those, I need one of those on my desk.
Say
Simplify.
hi.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Yep. So that's my daughter. Mwah.
Good. Okay, let's see where we at here. Okay, so we are right at 8 o'clock. So
Okay.
I'm going to tell you again, thank you so much for being on. We really
My
appreciate it.
pleasure.
We're loving the tips. You're getting some hearts and some, I don't know, can you see the things flying around?
I
Or,
see the little hearts. Yay.
yeah,
Thank you.
and loving the tips and loving the message. So I just want to tell you thank you again for bringing your story to us. You know, this is what this show is about. Just like you, everyday people, amazing stories. And I think we all have a positive story to share.
Absolutely.
And especially now, the world needs to hear everyone's story. So I think that you hit a few people today, you know, with your great wisdom. I know you as being wise. So now these people, our audience, got a chance to see, for you to drop some dimes on them, girl. You drop some
All
dimes.
right.
And
Thank you
we
for
really
having me.
appreciate it.
I
What'd you say?
appreciate being here. I said thank you for having me today. I appreciate you.
No, it was great. Like I said, it's just like having a conversation with me. So I'm going to touch base with you here in a second again.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
Be blessed,
And
everybody.
ladies,
Be intentional.
be intentional, guys. We'll see you next week. Be intentional.
Bye.
Bye-bye.